Hey, here we go. Chapter 10, Problem 2, writing a car class. So we need to write a class named car that has these pieces of data, the year model. I don't really know what year model is. I think that's the dumbest name. So I'm just going to make it the model. Or maybe it's the year of the car, the year of the model of the car. Okay, that's fine, whatever. And then it needs to have an initializer that sets year, model, and the make to, it accepts those as arguments, okay? And then it should assign 0 to the speed. So this is going to look a lot like perhaps the class you saw in the UML diagram lecture. Then it should have the following methods: accelerate, which adds 5 to the speed; brake, which subtracts 5; and then get speed, which gets the speed and should return the current speed. Okay, that makes total sense. Then design a program that creates a car object that calls the accelerate method 5 times, and then after each call, get the current speed and display it. Then call the brake method 5 times and show that. Okay, so that's, a couple of loops. We can totally do that. So here we go. Class named car. Let's go ahead and do it. Boom-be-de-boom. Class named car. Just like that. We need an initializer, and it's going to have a self because we're in Python, and it needs to have year, model, and make. So, I don't know, year, model, and make. That's great. And so now we're going to do self.yearModel. And again, it specifically tells us to do these double underscores here because the author of our textbook is a dork. So many people don't use double underscores like that. If this were me, by the way, I would just be using a single underscore if I were just programming this for myself. But, whatever. The dork who wrote the book is like, that's what it should be. So self.yearModel, self.make, and then self.speed is going to be equal to 0. That's what we set it off for because that's what it said to do. These values should be assigned, which we just did, and it should assign 0 to the speed. Now we need these 3 methods here. Now these 3 methods are better than the methods we saw in problem 1 because they at least do something. Let's just do the get speed one first. We don't have to do it in order that they tell us to. Again, we're just doing self because all of the data that we need is inside the object. It's inside the self of the object. And so getting the speed is just returning that value. So return self.speed. Remember, when we have an object of this class, car, it's going to have these 3 pieces of data shoved inside of it. And here we're just returning that speed. Now we're going to do def accelerate. Let me make sure I spell that right. Self like that. And what we do is we take self.speed, and it wants us to add 5 to it. So we can do plus equals 5. Well, not 1, 5, like that. And then def brake, self like that, self.speed minus equals 5. Cool? Does that sound great to everybody? Awesome. So let's go ahead and run this. So we'll create a def.main, and we need to create a car. And now unlike the one with the pet, now that I actually have 2 parameters here, year and model, or year, model, and make, I absolutely have to provide those here. If you do this, you can see it's saying I need to put 2 parameters in there. If I don't do that, then it's going to die. So let's do 1992, and the make is a town car. You might be wondering why I'm stuck on that. It might be the first car I ever owned, and I won it in a poker game. Shh, don't tell anybody. Okay, so now we need to call accelerate 5 times. So for some value, and I'm using an underscore here because I don't need the variable. I can do for I in range of 5. If you remember, that's going to loop 5 times. And then I'll do something like car.accelerate. And then I'll print speed of the car like that is going to be car.getSpeed. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm looping 5 times and I'm calling accelerate, which is going to add 5 to the speed. And then I print out that car speed because that's what it told me to do here. It says calls the accelerate method 5 times, and after each call to the accelerate method, get the current speed of the car and display it. So that's what I'm doing. I'm getting that current speed and I'm displaying it. And so now it also wants me to do it the other way. So for I in range of 5 like that, car.brake like that, print speed like that, car.getSpeed. Okay. So there's my program. If I wanted to be able to run, I need to do if name equal to main like that. Let's set that all up and we'll call the main. Perfect. So right now I don't have any squigglies other than town car, and that's because it's like, I don't know how to spell town car. Fine, whatever. So if I run this now, it's going to go ahead and show me all of those things. Speed 5, then I accelerate it again, and it keeps going up to 25, and then I start braking 20, 15, 10, 5, 0. Okay, well, there we go. I'm done, right? No, I'm not done. This makes no sense. This is a car. What happens if I went like range 10? What happens if I did this? What if I braked the car 10 times after accelerating 5 times? What's that going to look like? Can you figure that out? Boom. Now all of a sudden I'm braking and I'm going backwards with a negative speed. That does not make any sense. Come on, right? I mean, seriously, doesn't make any sense. My brake method needs to be smarter than that. If I'm just braking, I haven't put it in reverse. If I'm just braking, the speed will get down to 0, and then it should stay at 0, even if I keep pushing the brake. I mean, that's sort of what, I've got a semicolon there. I don't need that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do if self speed, I'm going to check the speed. If it's less than 0, I'm just going to set the speed equal to 0, because this makes sense. If I'm at a standstill and and this is 0 and I subtract 5, if it's less than 0, it's still at 0. That's just it. So now if I do this, boom, now you can see, hey, look, the speed is always at 0. You see, this is a much smarter method. And in my opinion, that should be in the instructions. But this author is not the best programmer in the world. He's a pretty good teacher and a good explainer sometimes, especially in this Python book. Don't get me started on his C++ book. But this should be part of the instructions, because this is how we should be thinking about classes. We should be thinking about what these methods do. If I'm reducing the speed by 5 miles per hour or 5 kilometers per hour or 5 meters per second, whatever it is, if I'm reducing that and I'm just braking, then if it ever goes under 0, it should just be at 0. I mean, otherwise, what kind of weird car would that be otherwise? So now we've got that equal to 0. I'm going to come back to this I thing. You can see here that if I hover over this I, it says I is not accessed. And that's because I'm not using I inside the loop of this for loop here. I'm not using it in the body. And so what you can do is you can use underscores. If you just need a place for a variable, because I have to put a variable there. If I just do like this, then it's like, I don't understand that. So I use an underscore, and that underscore allows me to I'm not using this value. I'm just looping 5 times. That's all I'm doing. So for underscore. This is good Python. This is nice Python. I wish that they taught this kind of stuff in the textbook. Okay, so this is also, what happens if I go, let's say I hit the accelerator, 100 times. Let's do that. What's going to happen? You know what's going to happen. It's going to go zoom. All of a sudden, I'm at 400. I'm at 500 miles per hour. Well, that doesn't really happen either unless you're in a rocket ship. Or maybe some electric car that has no governor on it, which would be really dangerous. So this does not make sense either. So in my opinion here, we should be putting a cap on the top. Most speedometers fall off after 140. So let's just use 140. If self.speed is greater than 140, let's just say self.speed is equal to 140. Because my goodness, we're not going to go faster than 100. We're not on the Autobahn. I love the Autobahn. I love driving on the Autobahn. It's one of my favorite things to do. And look, did I do this right? You see right there. This is another problem with Python. So you can see here, I'm still getting up to 500 miles an hour. Why is that? And you may have caught this while I typed it. These are 2 underscores here, and this is only 1 underscore. And so what that means is I'm setting a new variable, underscore speed. I need it to be underscore. And so it's always good to debug our programs, run them to make sure they're actually working. I was pretty confident about that. And so now you see we're maxing out at 140 before we start braking again. So, I mean, come on, right? This makes a lot more sense. I really wish our textbook made this is a dumb problem. This is a problem that we should not be we should have the extra stuff in here. Like I showed you in the last one where we, made sure that the name and the age and the type weren't, stupid data values. This is the whole point in having methods, in making sure, in doing calculations and making sure we don't have stupid values inside our 1992 Lincoln Town Car. All right, that's problem 2, chapter 10.